Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Hey champions, thank you for joining us on the Champion Within today. I got to tell you, you are going to be leaning in today, taking notes, rewinding, and thinking, where has this woman been my whole life? We know each other, but we don't really know each other. I was sitting in the auditorium for my daughter's spring sports seasons to begin with all of the other parents. The keynote speaker for that event walked up and I thought, ooh, okay, I love everything that she's throwing out here. I'm nodding my head and I actually sent her a message. I think it was on LinkedIn a couple days later saying, wow, I really loved listening to you talk. Thank you for putting that out into the world. Then we had breakfast just because we wanted to learn a little bit more about what each of us were doing. At that breakfast, I was probably weirdly obsessed because I was thinking everything she is saying is so aligned with what I believe in, the work that I am doing. When I asked her to fill out the form, so many awesome things. I'm going to share her bio in a second, but Roe Falcone put something on there that I thought, this is something everyone needs to turn the volume up on. She said it is something that she really weaves into everything she does, her work, her time as a coach with her athletes. And it is, watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. I just love this. Let me tell you a little bit about Roe, and then I'm going to stop talking and let her talk. Roe Falcone is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at EDSI. She leads business development, builds key relationships, and brings innovative ideas to life in workforce development. With over 2 decades of experience, Roe has managed multi-million-dollar programs across Pennsylvania and Maryland, serving diverse populations and leading teams with vision and heart. A sought-after speaker and trainer, she is known for her fearless leadership, creative problem-solving, and passion for developing future leaders. Roe also serves on multiple boards, coaches varsity girls basketball, and was honored with the inaugural Workforce Phoenix Award in 2022. She also has a really cool athletic bio. We're going to get into all of those things. Roe, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And I think likewise, after our breakfast, I was so energized and just like-minded people, having great conversation that I'm passionate about mindset and I think helping athletes. So it was an awesome conversation.
Well, thank you. It really is something that has stayed with me, our conversation. You had another quote, and we're going to start here, and I want to hear about this. You said, today I will do what others won't. So tomorrow I can do what others can't. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, and I think that's a Jerry Rice quote. And for me, it means the discipline. Some mornings, now that I'm a NARP, as my athletes graduated say, like regular person,
right.
I feel like I need to get up and be disciplined in working out, staying focused. For me, it's just doing the little things that I think help to make you successful. So that quote, every morning I get up, I just say it to myself. So today I'm going to.
You repeat that to yourself every morning?
I do. I really do, especially on mornings where I'm not feeling like working out. And need to have that discipline to get up because I know it's the right thing to do and it's going to start my day off in such a.
I love that. And that's something that we're already dropping stuff for you to steal, my listeners. You literally could take that quote or something that aligns with you because it is important for you to believe in it and just repeat it. Even if it feels weird in the beginning, because when we start to say those things, today I will do what others won't, You might be thinking and your brain is saying, nope, no, you won't, because you're not that person. But if you keep saying that to yourself
Mhm.
every single day, I don't know about you, Ro, but I do similar things. And then you start to see opportunities for how you can do things.
Interesting.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you do within your professional life,
Sure.
although the coaching is included there. But then we're going to get over to what you're doing in the athletic space.
Sure. Well, about 26 years ago, I was kind of at a crossroads, and I've been with EDSI for 26 years. I was coaching at the collegiate level and really needed to kind of either go along the coaching career or make a decision. And at the time, EDSI was brand new to Philadelphia. A friend of mine asked me to apply for a job, and that has been one of the most life-changing choices for me. I'm fortunate that I found a career that I'm passionate about and that the work that I get to do can change lives. In workforce development, we focus on helping people that are less fortunate, youth, risk youth, individuals that are recently dislocated, individuals that are collecting public assistance. We work with them and through coaching and education, training, and job placement. We work with them to better their lives. And so being able to see that impact and see the lives of individuals change has been the most rewarding thing about my career and why I love what I do. And I love the opportunity that we get to change lives. And that also includes the people that we get to work with, our colleagues and the people I get to call my teammates, because honestly, my job in strategic partnerships is about growth. And for me, it's important because with growth comes opportunity. I was able to grow through my career because of the different opportunities. And so I want to make sure that we have individuals in our company that see a future and a career. And that's what I've been able to do. And that's why, again, I love getting to go to work every day.
I love so much of that. I'm going to pull a little bit of that out right now. You said numerous times, I get to.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is such a powerful mindset for people, no matter what you are doing right now, even on some days when it's tough. If you lean into, I get to, I heard you say, I get to help these people. I get to work with my team within EDSI. I really think that that's a shift. Sometimes people can pay attention to all of, because I know it's probably stressful within your work too, many days, especially if people are dealing with these tough situations. When you can shift to I get to, that's really powerful. Can you think of a story where you really felt that I get to vibe, either with a client or somebody that you work with?
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm going to go to my favorite program, which is the multi-gen program, where we focus on families. I remember our first multi-gen cohort. We brought in adults to learn and get a customer service credential. And at the same time, they brought their children into our program. And we partnered with educators to provide different types of educational activities, social emotional activities, tutoring, and the learning was happening simultaneously. And
that's really cool.
It was amazing. And we being Italian, as you can tell with my hands,
Right.
There's a love for food and the importance of food and family. And so the first part of that multi-gen program was dinner. And the families came together and they ate together. And we helped to foster the kind of conversations that are beneficial to have with your families at dinner. And then the next 2 hours, our adults learned customer service skills, and the children got to learn and play. And the parents loved it because they knew their children were safe, were fed, and had their homework done.
Right.
And the kids loved it. And at the same time, the kids got to see their parents being successful. And the first graduation still almost brings me into tears. As the parents were walking in, one of the girls yelled, "Yay, mommy." And there wasn't a
I'm gonna
dry
cry.
eye in the place. And just seeing that success reminds me every day of the impact that we can have.
That is incredible. I almost feel like I was in that situation with you and hearing that little kid yell, Yay, mommy.
It was awesome.
The ripple effect of that, where you educate not only the parents, but also their children, is immense.
It
Have
is.
you ever had someone come back and say, this is what we're doing now? Do you get to see that side of it or not so much?
Sometimes we do. I think what is really great is hearing them speak at the graduation about
Mm,
the impact that the program has had for them and their families. And we were able to even do it through COVID, doing it remotely and
that's
connecting
awesome.
people. And so I think being able to see that impact and hearing from the customers what the program has meant to them is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love so much of that. Food is what brings people together. So I love that dinner aspect. It's also an easy way to have those conversations. I'm going to tap into your genius a little here so some listeners could steal this. I do some things at dinner. Sometimes my teenagers roll their eyes, but I'll share that maybe a little later. But I want
Sure.
to hear, is there something that you could take maybe from that big moment that you remember that somebody could put into dinner every day, even if it's a quick dinner before sports, that you would say, this is how we foster that communication or the positivity, a little tip, I guess they could steal?
Yeah, I think just asking, how was your day? What went well? And, you know, just listening. I think that's the other important part is to really listen as your children are speaking or as the parents to one another to also show good conversation. I think all of that is really critical, but I think just asking those open-ended questions and then listening is really
That's
important.
perfect. And it doesn't
Simple.
have to be super complicated. I think sometimes when we talk to people, I know for myself, I run something called the village mentality where I talk with the parents after I talk with the kids because I want them to know what their children are learning. Very similar to your generational program. That
Correct.
way they can all show up, be that village. Something I do with my kids, and I'll admit, sometimes my teenagers roll their eyes, but it does spark conversation. Every day at the end of dinner, I pick somebody to start, or someone will pick someone to start, and we say, what was your favorite part of your day? And we focus on that. Now, some days they just say something generic like, school.
Hmm.
But then I say, tell me a little bit more about that. We start the conversation and then they pick someone else at the table. Okay, mom, you're up. What was your favorite part of the day? I have learned so much about the day in those conversations. And it's just a way for us to talk. My youngest guy has a uniquely beautiful brain. So this is also a little secretive way for me to say, okay, Ryan, listen to what everyone else is saying. Your eyes should be looking at mine because this is important to me and so those little things. And I loved how you said, just listen, because it's hard for us as parents not to jump in sometimes, or as a teacher, I wanted to go in and save almost some of my students or my athletes. I love to tell people, and you can steal this if you want, listeners, WAIT, wait, why am I talking? We don't always have to jump in, even if we think we can save the day. It's hard to do, but I love that tip that you said, just be an active listener. Very cool. What would you say is your toughest part? Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I do like to say that to my listeners and everyone I work with. What's the toughest part about your professional days?
I think it's funding and
Yeah,
contracts. We recently had a contract where we're performing at a high level, we're helping so many people, but there was a huge funding cut. So that is really hard and challenging. I was meeting with the team discussing, you know, what's happening. There were a lot of tears, including my own,
yeah,
because I do care about them and it was hard. And that for me is really challenging when you have to, at no fault of your own, you lose a contract and there's people's lives that are affected and
yeah. That's
there's
heartbreaking.
communities that are affected. And so for me, that is definitely the hardest part of
Is
my
there
job.
something you do in a moment like that? Maybe it's mindset related, or just maybe it's like that, that thing you say to yourself every day. Is there something that you lean into purposefully when you have hard moments?
I think for me, it's what can I do and how can I impact? So for me, it was, can we get additional opportunities? So I can't kind of wallow in it. I have to accept what happened. I have to make sure that I give hope to the individuals that I'm working with. And then for me, what can I do to help is to find additional opportunities. I kind of lean into the action of what I can do and how I can support. And just trying to be there for them in multiple ways. If we get new opportunities and new contracts, there could be hope. I just continue to try to lean into what I can control and what I can do.
Control the controllables. Love it.
So,
dare I say that you are being an athlete?
100%.
Yeah. I just feel like when you were talking about that, I was thinking about your job and how it's got to be heartbreaking for not only the people you work with, but of course, those you serve. You have to be an athlete in that situation. And that's such a broad term for those who are listening, but really think about what Roe just said. What can I do? What can I control? How can I not sit in this situation, but move forward? What I do next matters most type of thing. Same thing if you're at practice or competing in whatever sport you play. I think this is a great time for us to maybe shift over to that area because you have a long bio there too. I was thinking all the things I could talk about in the beginning. Just to give people some idea here, Roe is a proud Ridley and Dickinson College alum. She also is a standout volleyball, basketball, softball player, scoring 1,000 points and leading your team to a conference championship. You were inducted into both the Dickinson and the Delaware County Hall of Fames. I mean, do you have plaques all over your house? I feel like so many awesome things here. In addition to that, you also keep it real. So there's a lot of things we're going to talk about in this sports arena. You coach right now the girls varsity basketball team at Ridley, which is where you graduated from. We have so much to talk about here, Roe. Let's go back to younger Roe. Maybe we'll take it back to high school because I get to love some high schoolers in a lot of different ways. Yes. What was that journey like for you in a good way, in, some challenging pieces? Tell me a little bit about it.
So I transferred from Cardinal O'Hara to Ridley my junior year. So right there, knowing as I've gotten older, I'm so adverse to change. I can't even believe I did that. So looking back at my younger self, I give myself some credit for making that really difficult decision. I look back and it came full circle. So to be able to be at Ridley now and to coach and to be with these kids is amazing. And if I never made that decision, I don't know if I'd be here today and sitting here and talking with you and coaching and the opportunity where we met. I look back at that and I think that was the beginning of this journey for me. I met some of my best friends at Ridley, and athletically, it challenged me to be the Central League is competitive, and it really challenged me to be a great athlete. And then I think it helped me with the opportunity to go to Dickinson College. Dickinson was a whole new level. I thought I knew what discipline was, and then I started playing college athletics.
Right.
And that was a wake-up call for me. And now when I talk to my athletes, I try to give them a heads up. Don't make the mistakes I did. If my younger self would go back and say, you probably need to be in better shape when you go to, training camp freshman year at college.
So what do you suggest if it was, sorry to jump in there, what would you suggest if you were talking with an athlete's listening right now, or maybe a coach who's listening and can steal what you give to your athletes? When you say be in better shape, so you're ready for that college level experience, what does that look like for someone?
I think it looks like the discipline of lifting, of running, of sprinting, of jumping. And then there's the mental aspect. I think there's so many things that we have now that can really help prepare our younger athletes with that mental aspect and mindset and the discipline. One of my athletes I just gave a book to because she wants to continue to learn and grow. And
you got to tell us what the book is.
I gave her Let Them, also the inner game of tennis I told her about. So there's a couple that she's focused on just in terms of, again, the mental aspect. I think going to college is going to bring new challenges. I kind of give a fair warning to all of the freshmen that it's going to be hard. You may have been the most successful athlete in high school. That first year is going to be a challenge. Expect it and be prepared for it. I tell them that you can do a lot of things to be ready for day one of your freshman year.
I think that's great advice because oftentimes an athlete is leaving an area at that high school level where they were a standout.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they weren't the only great player on their team, but chances are if you're playing at the next level, you were good in high school. When you get to a place where everybody is good, it is a mindset shift. It is a whole new way to look at things. And coming in as that freshman, and maybe there's a junior or senior who is, in the spot you want to be in. There's a lot of things that you have to handle. Plus, if you're living away, all kinds of different things come into play. I love that advice for athletes, and it's simple but powerful.
It is. And that's why I want them to understand it going into it and be able to talk about it. I think that's also really important, is to be able to have.
Yeah, you said something about they need the mindset work and being able to talk about it. I'm just going to admit it. When I was a high schooler in college, in the 90s, it wasn't really something that we were encouraged to do. I remember oftentimes saying to basketball coaches and things, I'm fine. When I was not fine. Is that something that you had for yourself in high school and college, or is this something that has developed over time as a professional and a coach?
I think definitely has developed. I think for me, it started though after I got injured. I tore both my ACLs in college, and I was struggling. I was in a really bad place and was lost. I didn't know what to do anymore. I was used to getting up and playing and working out, and now you can't.
It's that loss of identity with the injury. You are the athlete, although I laughed when you said that your players call you the NARP now, but when you're in it and you have this injury, that is really messing with your mindset. It can really, really put you in a place where you don't know which way to turn. I know that you get to go out and talk with high schoolers, and I was in the audience there as the parent and the high schoolers, but also college students. Do you talk about this injury and the identity loss here, and what do you say to them?
I do. I think I was fortunate enough to go back to speak at Dickinson, and I knew a couple of the athletes that were just coming off of injury and the struggles that they have. For me, it's being able to reflect now as I'm a little older. What I found was I just shifted. I always kind of anchor on the values that are really important to me. Passion. My passion, instead of going to the gym and shooting and playing, had to be in my rehab. My goals had to be redefined. Instead of making 100 shots, it was being able to sprint again. I think looking at the values, the things that anchor you, and then leveraging that to your injury and just shifting it was a mindset shift that I think now I understand. Looking back is what helped me to get through it and to get through it with a better mindset. And I saw a sports psychologist that was really helpful for me to understand. And I use that today. So he had me watch my highlight film. And so for my players, I tell them to go back and watch their highlight.
While you were injured?
Yes, while I was injured, because you kind of feel like, am I ever going to be the player I was? And he wanted to give me that reminder and have that. So I've had a couple of my kids, if they were struggling, go back and watch their highlight film. I tell them
that is genius. If a coach is listening right now, you better steal that, because your brain can take you in a lot of different places and you have to be able to control that. Thank goodness for that sports psychologist that you mentioned. And really you as the coach to say, go back and look at that, because our brain does know you've done this before. You just have to sometimes reframe when you're in that injury phase and training. You have to remind your brain you can do hard things. Look at your highlight reel. Even if you're not an athlete listening right now, I hear so many times from people I work with and just people in general, well, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not ready. I'm only this, or, all of the long list of limiting beliefs that creep into our brain. Go back and look at your highlight reel. Yes. Your highlight reel, professionally, personally, you've probably done so many things that you're not owning. And I'm not talking to you, Ro. I'm talking to my listeners right now, that you're not owning your greatness. So go back and look at that highlight reel and honestly celebrate yourself a little bit for it. We don't feel like we should do that sometimes. I know it's weird for me, but you have to do that. I'm curious, just because I've done it with athletes, does anyone that you know do visualization when someone is injured so that you're visualizing not only the recovery, but also that highlight reel, picturing yourself getting back into it and doing whatever it is that you compete in.
Definitely. I think that's really important. And visualization is critical. I do it before every game with my kids. We take a moment before we play to visualize their successes, to see it, to hear it, get into the details. So I'm a firm believer in the importance of visualization, especially with athletics. And it's something that I remember using as a player. I would definitely recommend it. And as I said, I use it with my athletes.
First, I love that. And it's a great reminder to athletes, to coaches. I tell people all the time, I will guide them through sometimes a longer guided visualization, but it can be right before the game. It can be on the bus. It could be, don't be dry. If you're driving, you're not closing your eyes, but you don't even have to close your eyes. I literally do it in the shower while I'm getting ready. I visualize what the day is going to look like. It's important what you said, to feel it, to experience it as if it is happening now. You are the main character in that situation. It's not like a movie where you're watching it. You are in this situation. And for injuries, you can see yourself training. They've actually done a ton of studies on people's brains, where Olympic athletes, for example, have done that during injury. Your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what you're visualizing. You said something, I'm really curious because other athletes have mentioned it, and I would love to hear your response here. You said that you did that as an athlete. Did you know what you were doing, or is it just something that you did?
That's a great question. I think I knew I was doing it. I don't think I understood how powerful it could be. I think there's so much more research. I'm a little bit older. And so there's so much more research that is out there now. I think educating our athletes on what is out there, I think they can learn so much and be the best version of themselves by using all the tools that are out there. Again, I know I did it. I don't really know if I...
It's the same answer. I was curious to see what you said, because it is the same answer that the majority of the athletes I've had on the podcast or I get to work with say to me. Unless they're in high school now, they're like, well, yeah, we do this on purpose. Our coach has us do this, or I'm doing it with them. Many people have said to me, well, before the lacrosse game or basketball game or tennis, that I would just see myself doing it. And that's visualization, really is what it is. Are you a coach or parent looking to boost confidence, build resilience, and create a winning mindset? It's time to discover the champion within. I'm Kate McCauley, founder of The Champion Within, and I'm here to help you transform your mindset, reach your potential, and thrive in school, sports, and life. With 20 years of experience as an educator and a mindset specialist, I know what it takes to empower teams and individuals to step up, stay focused, and perform at their best. Book a free call with me today. Let's learn how the Champion Within programs can be customized to meet your needs. You can visit my site at shop.danunow.com, or even easier, go to the show notes, click on that link, and book your call. You said something that I really want to highlight. It's important. You said having all of the different tools, because I love visualization. Coach Roe has been saying she likes to do this with her athletes and that she did it herself. Now, my daughter, who runs track, she will say, that's not my thing. I don't like to do that. But she leans into self-talk, for example, and she's a distance runner. She's one of those crazy people. I'm like, you get it, girl, but I don't know how you're running all of these laps. Right. Cross country, I can almost see it out there. At least you're getting a good view. But when she's running 16 times around the track, every time she comes around, I'm like, okay, you keep going.
A lot of credit there.
But for her, she's done the visualization, of course, not with me, because you need a different voice. She would never listen to me, but when she's done it with coaches or different people, when she actually was on the field hockey team, she did it. She came home, she's like, I know you love that, but I hated it. It just wasn't for me. There's two pieces of this. One, if you're just starting, you got to try it. It is a practice for a reason. You've probably heard people say, I practice meditation or I practice yoga. It is a practice, so it does take some time. It's not magic beans. But there are some tools that are not going to be what you use all the time. Maybe it is self-talk. Like you said, you say that statement every morning. For my daughter, I know, and she's okay with me sharing this, that at lap 8, 9, 10, she starts saying certain things to herself in a positive way so that she can push through. There's so many different tools that athletes and non-athletes can use. I think that's important, that you don't have to lean into the shoulds and the supposed tos if you don't
100%.
like it.
It's what works. And that's why I think I try different things. And for me, I meditate every morning for 5 minutes.
Right.
I'm not sitting in the, yogi position for an hour.
No.
But I start my brain off the right way and thinking about gratitude and what I'm grateful for, I think is a positive way. I did gratitude journals with my kids this year, and
Love it.
I told them they couldn't write me in every day, but
you weren't allowed to put your name down every single day.
Not every day, but I
every other.
To create a habit for them to really think about all that we have, and that every day they get to play to be grateful. I do think there's so many tools. The other thing is next. If you miss a shot, next. If you turn the ball over, next. What are the things that you can do to keep your mindset positive? And I highlight Sabrina Ionescu, who plays for the New York Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And in the championship game, she was 1 for 19. And what I was amazed with is she kept shooting. I really used that to tell my kids that she didn't get down on herself. She kept shooting because it was the right thing to do. And she kept playing defense and she kept rebounding. And so there's other ways to impact the game. I think all of that stuff is really important for them to think about, to, again, be the best version of themselves, be the best athlete that they can be.
So much gold there. I'm curious with the gratitude journals. I do gratitude every single morning. I pop 3 things down, and some days it is deep and I'm thinking, oh, wow. And the pen just keeps flowing, even though it's a bulleted list, really, in the journal I use. And other days it's sunny, coffee, so I love the gratitude piece. Is there a way that you suggested that your athletes do it, or maybe some of them said to you, this is how I'm going to use this gratitude journal?
We tried, what I did this year, which was different, is I usually give it to them as a holiday gift and the start of the new year. But this year I incorporated it into every day we meet to usually watch film or talk about our practice schedule. And so we did it together. And then some days I will have them share. We also do it sometimes at the end of the practice, where we just say, what am I grateful for? And a lot of times it is friends, family. Sometimes it's basketball. Sometimes it's health. But I think all that stuff is really important, that they find a way to share.
Yeah.
And just understand and express it.
Yeah. And when you focus on gratitude, you have more to be grateful for.
100%.
Yeah. It's really retraining your brain, because it's easy during practice or a tough game to say, oh, look at all the things I did wrong. And on the flip side, when everything's going well, it's really easy to focus on gratitude. On those tough days or tough practices or moments, maybe even it's a whole month or a whole school year for some athletes, when it's tough, that's when gratitude is really important. Thank you for doing that with your athletes, because when you're teaching that, you're quite literally changing the neural pathways in their brain to focus on gratitude.
And that's something that they're going to take with them.
Yes.
Right. It's beyond just playing the sport, right? That's something that I hope.
I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes people think, all right, I'm going to do this gratitude for basketball, or I'm going to do this visualization because I'm injured. Your brain does not switch off when you step into the classroom, when you go out and interview for a job, when you were working, if they, end up having a family someday. These are things that will have that ripple effect into all areas of life. So honestly, it is such a gift to give this to an athlete. Selfishly, I wish I had it sooner.
100%. Yeah.
So I love that high schoolers and even youth athletes get to do these things, because as we said earlier, it's simple but powerful. If you have a gratitude journal, I tell people all the time, stack it with a habit. So if you don't have a Roe in your life who is saying to you, we're going to focus on gratitude at the end of practice, or we're going to use our gratitude journal after film. Not everybody is lucky enough to have you. So if somebody is thinking, oh, maybe I want to do that, stack a habit. Your brain does things every day that you don't even realize. So you're not thinking about brushing your teeth and tying your shoes, but you do it in most cases when you're leaving the house, unless you're putting slides on or something, but when you put your shoes on, before you turn off or on the alarm at the end of the night or the morning, there's where you could stack that habit and say, I'm going to start with one thing I'm grateful for. And when you write it down, this, I'm sure, Ro, it's more powerful. You don't have to. You don't have to write it down for those who are listening, but it is much more powerful when you can move a little bit, writing it down. Even just that motion of your hand writing it will send signals to your brain that this is important to you.
Yes.
So really cool. Now, I did want to move into an area where when you are not an athlete anymore, and just like you told me about that identity with the injury, this is something that athletes have told me from the youth, not playing high school level, high school to college, even professional athletes that I've gotten to work with have talked about this loss of identity, and we laugh, you're a regular person now, you're not an athlete anymore, but it's tough. Do you have any advice to give either to your players with that journey?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I tell them is to embrace every minute that they have playing a sport. And that's why I want them to play multiple sports. And I want them to understand how lucky and fortunate they are to be able to play, but to really enjoy every minute that they get to be on the court, the field, and be with their teammates, the bus rides. So my first thing is to enjoy the moment and enjoy what you have. And then from there, I think it's find your passion and your purpose. That's what sports did for me, is I poured everything that I had into, basketball and softball and every other sport. Now it's golf. It's sport. I think you're always an athlete at heart. And I still play with my kids. So
you still get in there. I
still get in there. I'm a little competitive still. But
I figured.
Yeah,
they need that. I think that's healthy.
And I talk trash better than anyone. So.
Well, you are a Delco woman, so, it would be odd if you didn't. I was just remembering what I wanted to bring up because you really said it again, related to the injury, to just be in that moment when you are training right now, when you are an athlete thinking maybe this is going to end, because it does end for everyone someday, but to be in the moment. You mentioned that earlier when you were going through rehab. I think it's really important, instead of focusing on, I'm not able to be in the game right now, because like you just said, we're competitive when we're athletes. We want to be in there. We want to be contributing. We want that in the game experience. But when you're in the rehab, or when you are able to get in there and play, even if it's coming close to the end of your time as that journey, high school, college, whatever level you're at, to be in the moment. If you can quite literally focus on the ball hitting the floor, or, stepping onto the court, just looking around like, look at this great day I get to experience with the team. That is something really huge. That's really, really powerful and hard to do, though.
It's definitely hard to do.
It's something, again, you have to train your brain to focus on now. And you can do that with taking a breath, or just, it sounds like you probably tell your athletes to do that.
And then look around, like you said. I remember when, we won the championship, and just looking around and being able to do that with Ridley.
Yeah.
That I grew up in was amazing. And I wanted to soak in every minute of that.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's got to be really incredible and surreal in some ways to think, look at this full circle situation that I'm in. I love that you slow down and take it all in, because it can go by pretty fast, that, winning of the championship. I live in Ridley, for those listeners who aren't aware of that. So I remember seeing things posted by some parents, athletes on community Facebook pages, and just seeing the excitement there. But for you to be able to slow down and experience it, that's incredible. When we talked, I hope you're okay with me sharing this, you were asked to come back and coach at Ridley, and you weren't sure at first if you were going to do it. What helped you make that decision? And it sounds like the journey's been amazing, but are there tips to other people when you go back to coach where you came from?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is support. I've been with my wife for 28 years, and she was extremely supportive, because this is a we decision. Because the commitment that I had to make and was going to make, she always says I can't do anything halfway. And so if I'm going to pour everything into it, it needs to be a we decision and that support. And honestly, I am so fortunate that she said to do it and to go for it, because I
Right.
absolutely am so thrilled every day when I walk in that gym and see those kids, and the relationships that I have for the past 6 years. There's a group of players that all graduated. It was on that first team, and
Hmm.
we're in a group chat, and I woke up to 179 text messages. They know I go to bed early, so they all make fun of me that I go to bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right.
And I woke up to all these text messages, and my heart was just so full,
Oh,
and just love the fact that they were reminiscing about the times, and there are the memories that you hold on to and that you can cherish. And I'm so lucky to be a part of that. I think for me, it's the support. I think there's also an understanding that I love being able to coach. I think being called a coach is one of the greatest sounds that I get to hear,
mm.
and I don't take that for granted. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and there's responsibility that comes with that. I tell the parents, I tell the kids, my job and what I want to do is to make you better humans. And if you do all of those things and we learn the skills, then we're going to win a lot of basketball games. But at the end of the day, I'm going to know success. And if we've had success 10 years from now.
I said I was obsessed in the beginning, and I promise listeners, I did not prep her. I do not have scripted questions, but I am constantly saying we need to make them better humans when they leave the program, things like that, because that's what it's all about. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing if you can play at the next level and do all those things. But even if you're playing at the next level, you need to be a better human when you leave my program. So much gratitude for that, the work that you do. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to your wife for letting you do this, because it really is a we decision. When you are a coach, and if you are married, if you have a family, you have to have that conversation, because it is a lot of time. It is, as you put on the form, what are my listeners going to learn? I believe you put something along the lines of, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you lead with heart and vision and all of these amazing
Love.
qualities. That's a lot. You
It's a
pour
lot.
into other people, and your family has to be willing to let you do that.
100%. And I think for Chris, she sees the love that I have, and
Mm,
that I really do. I care genuinely about the kids that I am fortunate enough to coach, their families, and just the community. I think what I also tell them, and we're going to be kind. We're going to
mhm.
be kind to anyone that tries out. We're going to be kind to our teammates. It's just, I think the authenticity and genuineness that you need to have as a leader is really important, because those young, impressionable athletes are watching who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Not only what
Yeah.
you say, but watching who you are.
Yeah, if they see you at Wawa and you're a hot mess doing something crazy, that little basketball player, whether it's a boy or girl, they see that.
100%.
Sometimes, especially at the high school and college level, I don't think when you're in it, you fully know that until some little kid maybe comes up to you and says something, or, something happens where you regret saying or doing something. But it really is impressionable for those who are watching, and you are their hero. They're your biggest fans, those little ones that come to watch you. So thank you again for teaching our kids, because it's really, a coach is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You're teaching so much, and I'm really grateful. And I think we're lucky in the Ridley area to have you. So thank you for that. Before I get to my last question, we could talk about so many things, by the way. I could do a whole series on this. I really wanted to ask you, is there a way that people could connect with you for EDSI, or just, connect in some way where maybe they want to fund something? Maybe someone's listening right now thinking, I should be funding that program, or whatever it is, or they just want to connect with you. Where should people do that?
They can go on to EDSI's website. I'm on social media. I'm not huge on social media, but I am on there at Roe
Okay.
Falcone. I'm not creative either, but EDSI.com, our website, my link is
Okay.
on there. And I would encourage people to reach out and to connect. I love relationships. I love
Good.
people. So
Perfect. Well, I'll drop the link there for all of my listeners, and on LinkedIn too, even if you're not putting out some kind of stuff. I will put it there. You just never know. Somebody might want to just follow along or reach out and ask you a question from all of this epic wisdom that you dropped today. I'm going to get to my last question, and I'm really curious to hear what you have for this one. Let's say you're in a movie called The Champion Within. Screen fades to black. What are the people in the audience screaming? Maybe they're going to hashtag it on social media for you to do next.
It's going to be a little cliche when I say just do it. And it's still Nike's line.
Love it.
But I have a vision for really trying to impact and empower more young athletes. But I think for me, it's Empower Her Sports Day and bringing everyone together in this holistic way to help our young female athletes, again, become the best version of themselves. But I think there's going to be a lot of hashtags around that and around making my dream a reality and being to have a much bigger impact on more athletes and get them the tools and the mindset so that they can really be successful, not just athletically, but as human beings.
I love that answer. And, let's start visualizing that for you, right? I'm sure you already are. I got to say, Empower Her Sports Day has a nice ring to it. I love the hashtag. Also, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I wear Nike to everything I do, shoes anyway. If I'm running a workshop, if I'm a keynote speaker, I always have Nike on my feet, except for one time when I did something in the very beginning. I thought I should be wearing high heels. And then I realized, what? No, I'm health and phys ed and I look good in Nike. I'm looking good. I'm not in like sweatpants, but I wear some pretty cool Nikes. And I'm just saying that maybe Nike should be sponsoring Empower Her Sports Day. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Let's put it out there. That's right.
Yeah. You never know, right?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you for coming on and chatting with me today. And to all of my listeners who are listening, you need to steal all of this, put it into your life, however it uniquely works for you. So thank you, Ro, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, champions, have an amazing rest of your day and crush the week ahead.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.